would like to talk about Antifa. I would like to talk about their communist movements. I would like to talk about Jake Lang's response and where I stand. Now, according to Jake Lang, unless you're willing to go out there and publicly protest, then you're not a man. You're just a boy. And so I would be in the boy category, according to him, because I don't want to, put my life at risk and possibly come back in a body bag to my wife and kids. But to whatever degree, I'm willing to influence through this channel, and I know for certain that other podcasters sometimes follow what I say. The torch gets passed along, the baton gets passed along, and I honestly believe that some of the things I've said have reached the White House, not only because of things I've said, but because of things I've emailed them, not only because of things that I've emailed them, but because of things that I've said. So it is possible to influence government from your desk. It is. You do not have to go out and publicly protest and risk your life to influence government. You can send them messages, you can rant, you can rave, you can create a buzz on media. You do not have to put your life in jeopardy to influence government. Bravery has its merits, but so also does foolishness tow very closely behind bravery sometimes. Bravery can only be called courage when it is guided by righteousness and wisdom. And that has to come from the Word of God. The Word of God does not teach hatred. It does not teach murder. It does not teach murder of the heart. Calling people mongrels, okay, would fall into that category. Jake Lang. It would fall into that category. And that's KKK talk. That's neo-Nazi talk. That's not Bible talk. That's not Jesus Christ talking there. That's the flesh. That's the worldly influence of KKK and Stone Mountain. That's not Jesus Christ talking in those moments. However, I've heard this idea that if the white Christian male, the white Christian American male, is outbred or outvoted, that the ideology of right-wing populism will die out in America. I've heard this. I don't believe that it's true. I don't believe that it's true. For the simple reason that white people are still a majority group in the United States. White people are still a majority group in the United States. Now, while I'm not entirely comfortable giving a racial argument or a cultural argument, I will tell you that I have some information in front of me that's pulled from Wikipedia that says that white people are still 57% of the United States population. 57% of the United States population. All right. The runner-up is the Hispanic population, which is 20% of the United States population. And then the third place is African Americans, black people, 12% United States population. And there is a strong Republican presence among whites, Hispanics, and blacks. It's wrong to characterize them all as just a bunch of multicultural communists. It's just not accurate. It's barking up the wrong tree to be looking at skin colors and thinking these people will vote against right-wing populist ideas, Republican, conservative, constitutional ideas. What needs to happen is education. Right? We don't need to be epithets and ad hominem character attacks and mongrel insults and all of this kind of stuff. This is not helping. All this is doing is fueling the hate and the fire of Antifa. Antifa is the way they are because of this racial talk. That's what their whole ideology is based on, anti-racism. And in this sense, they kind of feel justified that they're serving a righteous cause because of this hateful, white supremacist rhetoric, Jake. It's more important not to be seen on the street corner. It's more important that people are hearing the right stuff, they're getting the right content out there. And what is that content? Well, number one, the gospel of Jesus Christ. The Bible is the word of God. Jesus Christ is the only way, truth, and life. And no one comes to the Father but by him. That the Ten Commandments is the law that is above the law. And, Republican ideology doesn't have to break down if we're teaching things properly. Why don't I just go through a bunch of black conservatives, okay? Since the time of the 1800s, we had Frederick Douglass, who was a friend of Abraham Lincoln. He was an abolitionist and a Republican. He believed in self-reliance, Christian morality, and equal rights under the Constitution. Frederick Douglass. Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington promoted vocational education, entrepreneurship, and he was a black conservative voice. Black conservative voice. Zora Neale Hurston, the author, a strong critic of collectivism and welfare programs and communism. She was strongly anti-communist, and she was a conservative. She was a black conservative. I think she wrote a book called Their Eyes Were Watching God. Let me try to get this thing. I want to get my facts straight here. Yeah, Their Eyes Were Watching God. Black conservative woman, Clarence Thomas, still alive, I think. He's a U.S. Supreme Court justice. He believes in conservative Republican ideology. He's black, Clarence Thomas. We had Brandon Tatum today. So this anti-black rhetoric is completely unnecessary. It's divisive, it's distracting, and all it does is throw gas on the fire of Antifa. Antifa is the way they is. If you look into their ideas, read my article. And now I'm going to start going through my article I just did on Antifa. Because you're going to see, this is what, I literally spent 3 hours last night watching documentaries on Antifa. I know exactly the way these guys think now. I know what their agenda is, and I know what they want. And I'm telling you, if the neo-Nazi and the KKK and the white supremacy far-right extremist idea just fizzled out, Antifa would fizzle out. Because that's why they exist. That's why they exist, Jake. They exist to quiet your message about whites. That's why Antifa exists, Jake Lang. That is why they exist. So if we want their ideology to die out, neo-Nazi ideology needs to die out. White supremacy ideology needs to die out. This white culturalism message, it's a distraction. It's not part of right-wing populism. It has nothing to do with limited taxes. It has absolutely nothing to do with self-reliance and independence and small government. It has absolutely nothing to do with that. It is just segregation ideology. It's all it is. Straight out of the South. What's the Antifa agenda? What exactly do they want? Jesus Christ said in Matthew 5:44, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. Love your enemies, bless them, do good to them, pray for them. Now, what do they want? What do they want? They don't want Jake Lang preaching this white stuff. That's the bottom line. They are a paranoid, schizophrenic mob. They're afraid they're going to be genocidally killed by people like Jake. That's what they think. That is what they think. And as deluded and as deceived as they are, that is the way they think. That is the fire underneath everything that they do. They oppose the neo-Nazi. They oppose the KKK. They oppose the far-right extremist supporters of Trump. They oppose anybody who has white supremacy rhetoric. They are opposed to anybody who expresses anything at all that could be called anti-homosexual, anti-transgender, anybody who could be called a bigot, a racist, an Islamophobe, a xenophobe, a male chauvinist, misogynist, an anti-Semite, a Confederate Dixie rebel flag waver, a Holocaust denier, a capitalist, and all policemen, because they believe that all policemen are white supremacists. That's what they believe. Even if we have black policemen or black soldiers, they think all cops, they think all soldiers are neo-Nazis and KKK because they serve a neo-Nazi KKK government system. That's the idea that they have. So historically, Antifa takes stands against Milo Yiannopoulos, who, although he's a homosexual, was very conflicted about his homosexuality and preached against homosexuality at times and even toyed around with ex-gay concepts, and they hated him because of that. They hate the Proud Boys. They hate Jake Lang. They hate Back the Blue. They hate Nick Fuentes, obviously. Everybody hates that guy because he's publicly said he admires Hitler. They hate the Groypers. They hate the woke right, the alt-right, because they've all supported Trump, and because they've all supported Trump, they think Trump's in on it. They think that Trump's administration itself is white supremacist and neo-Nazi, and they're convinced that Trump is a neo-Nazi KKK advocate. And so this is why they exist, to destroy what they believe in their mind, in their fantasy world, is a neo-Nazi government. They go to Confederate monuments at state capitals and they destroy the Confederate monuments. Honestly, I have nothing wrong with that. We beat the Confederates a long time ago. They lost. They lost. But the Antifa people, they know that what they're doing is criminal. The way they go about everything is criminal. So they don't have any problem wearing these facial masks to cover up their identity. You know, so they look like some burglar or some outlaw. It's cosplay, and it makes them act out more courageous and violent because they know that they can't be traced. They have a wicked, confused, twisted idea. They think that the police are always wrong. No matter what they do, they're always wrong. Completely anti-cop. So every time the police actually try to enforce the law, it just eggs them on to become more and more violent, more and more suicidal. So whether the cops use tear gas or flashbangs or pepper bullets or any weapons at all, the Antifa people always think that this is wrong. They always think that the cops are just overreacting. Even though some of the Antifa people will come out of the crowd and will toss mortar fireworks at cops and punch people that they don't even know. Sometimes even punch their own people. Oops, my bad. They're so deceived. They're so deceived. They're operating under a atheistic communist idea. They're opposed to capitalism. Ultimately, they want to destroy the current system of government in America. They want to burn the American flag and replace it with some LGBT Soviet flag. They want America to become a LGBT affirming multiracial utopia of communism, socialism, and Marxism. This is ultimately what they want. While they proclaim themselves to be advocates of the virtue of anti-racism, and this seems to be a virtue signal, badge of honor, at the same time they want to destroy everything that our forefathers have worked so hard to build. And so that's very unrighteous of them. And they're all in on it. Black Lives Matter, Antifa, the Democratic Socialists of America, Pop Mob, and now the Democratic Party. And they oftentimes are creating these groups on Discord or Facebook. Here's the programs that they use to organize these groups and these protest events: Discord, Signal, Telegram, Facebook, Instagram, X, and Reddit boards. That's what they use in that order: Discord, Signal, Telegram, Facebook, Instagram, X, and Reddit boards. Rose City Antifa, RCA. based in Portland, Oregon. That seems to be the headquarters of the whole thing. Rose City Antifa. These people need the gospel of Jesus Christ so bad. They're against free speech, and the reason why is because they do not want white supremacists making use of free speech. And they think that their violence is good because they need to stop white supremacy at all costs. Ultimately, that seems to be their gigantic, the number one thing they care about is their homosexuals and their Muslims. They're trying to protect their homosexuals, their Muslims, and they do not like Nazis. They do not like white supremacists because they believe that some Nazis, white supremacists, actually want to genocidally kill gay people. There's some alt-right groups that have even expressed this. Patriot Front, Blood Tribe. It said that homosexuals should be put into concentration camps, just like Hitler put homosexuals in concentration camps. Yeah. So now they think everybody who's a Republican's like that. So let's create a communist country so that'll never happen. Yeah, right. That's really smart. I don't think these guys are even aware of the fact that Stalin is the person who came up with the concentration camp first, called a gulag. Hitler copied him. He came in second place with concentration camps. Both of these are absolutely terrible political ideologies. We need to be pointing at Abraham Lincoln. We need to be pointing at Barry Goldwater in his book Conscience of a Conservative. We need to be pointing at Russell Kirk in his book The Conservative Mind. This is the ideology. And it's not preserved by white people. It's preserved by reading books and regurgitating what they say. It's preserved by reading books and regurgitating what they say. That's the answer.